Let's break into new ground. Are you ready? Verse 2. Verse 2.
Which he promised previously through his prophets in the Holy Scriptures.
Okay. Which he promised previously through his prophets. What's he talking about? What was promised by the prophets?
His son.
Okay. You know, what is the story of the Old Testament? It's prophesying leading up to the coming of Christ.
So really it's people getting God's grace and then doing bad.
Oh yeah, that cycle goes on and on and on and on and on. Yeah. But here it says, a slave of Christ, called to be apostle, which he promised previously through his prophets in the Holy Scriptures. When the word Holy Scripture is used in this passage, what are we talking about?
The Old Testament.
The Old Testament. Very good, folks. In context. It doesn't mean the whole Bible. Why doesn't it mean the whole Bible? It wasn't even written yet. The bulk of it wasn't even written. So it's talking about here Holy Scriptures being the Old Testament where we hear prophecy about the coming of the Messiah. I don't think I have enough time to do... Oh, this next part is... This next part, do you realize the next part of Paul's epistle is all about food? It really is. Oh, you know what? We're going to have to wait.
So next week, don't bring food, it's right here.
No. That's not what I said. Let's stop it right here. Next week we're going to continue. You're not going to believe this, but Paul really loves sandwiches. And I'm going to prove it to you next week. A quick little story this evening. One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside every person. He said, "My son, the battle is between two wolves within each of us. The first wolf within you is evil. It's anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. But the other wolf within you is good. It is joy, peace, love, humility, kindness, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Well, which wolf wins within a person?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." Thought I'd throw you a little curveball today. You're waiting. That's the punchline of this story. The one you feed. And we're going to do something a little different in this class as compared to all the other classes I've done before. We're going to focus on specific verses, and we're going to stop and read those verses. But what we're going to do is we're going to read every verse in the book of Romans. So when we stop at a verse, and the next verse may be 10 verses away, instead of going to that verse, we're going to read all the verses going up to that verse. Why would it's a good idea to do that?
Context.
Context, right? So we're going to do that. And I left last class with a little teaser. I made the statement that we know for an absolute fact that Paul loved peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Remember that? My goodness. That's how I left last class. Paul loves peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. How do you think we know that? Don't start with me on that. Yeah. How do we know that Paul likes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Come on.
PB&J have something to do with it?
What?
PB&J have something to do with it?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, it doesn't work. No.
What book do we do to learn our faith?
I don't think it's in the
It's in the Bible. I am going to show you it's in the Bible. My goodness, I'm a little surprised that you've never heard a homily on this, but you're going to learn about it. So let's do it. Romans chapter 1, verse 5.
Through him we have received the grace of apostleship to bring about the obedience of faith for the sake of his name among all the Gentiles.
Okay, Paul uses a term in verse 5 called the obedience of faith. Got that? Keep that in the back of your minds. Could somebody give me a theological definition of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? How is it structured? A piece of bread?
Top and the bottom, good stuff in between.
A piece of bread on the bottom. Right? And what's in between? Peanut butter. And jelly. Okay. Paul uses a term here in verse 5 called the obedience of faith. Okay? Notice he starts his epistle with this term because this is a key term that is used throughout the epistle of the book of Romans. Keep your place there. Now I want you to go to the very end of Paul's epistle. Romans chapter 16, verse 26.
But now manifested through the prophetic writings and according to the command of the eternal God, made known to all nations to bring about the obedience of faith.
So how does Paul end his epistle? With what term?
The obedience of faith.
The obedience of faith. Paul sandwiches his epistle in the very beginning with a slice of obedience of faith. He ends his epistle with another slice of obedience of faith. And what do you think is in between these two slices of obedience of faith?
Ham and cheese.
Boy, you just got food on your mind in this class.
He was a Jew. But he started out a Jew.
Eventually all things will end.
So the peanut butter and jelly between his sandwich, he defines faith and obedience. That's the function of Paul's letter to the Romans. So if you want to summarize what the book of Romans is all about, it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Or an obedience and faith sandwich.
I like peanut butter and jelly better. Okay.
Oh, that's a stretch.
No, really. And this is going to play an important part. A lot of people don't realize this. And this is really, really a big deal. Because the book of Romans was instrumental in the Protestant Reformation. Remember Martin Luther, who started the Protestant Reformation? The book of Romans was primary. This was the book that led him down the path of breaking from the Catholic Church. He read the book of Romans and he came up with some interpretations of the book of Romans. And we're going to talk about it here in a little bit here. Some of the components that he had problems with was faith and obedience. So I'm just trying to start out from the beginning, trying to show us what Paul is trying to tell us in this book. It's all about faith and obedience. And Martin Luther, when he read the book of Romans, he came up with a principle based on the book of Romans that was, again, instrumental in the Reformation. And in a nutshell, Luther interpreted Romans to teach that one is saved by faith alone.